So this is gonna be a quick track walkthrough of Belle with the Veloster. It says lap 40, but I reset a bunch of times going across start finish to practice lap 1. So right now track temp's 25. It was 25 when I did this particular lap. All the 36 kilometers an hour wind. That's a lot. I didn't notice that before. Anyway, so we'll just do a quick little lap here. So first thing that I'm going to be looking at here is braking point for turn 1. It's honestly just about the 300 meter mark. To be consistent, I usually do a little bit before it. So when I'm setting in the cockpit, I'm just kind of looking at this 300 mark, looking at these markings on the road. So right here's when I brake is when the nose of my car goes right over this first one. But if I want to be like, this will probably be like qualifying type, but racing I'll probably be a little bit further back. So key here is, again, you want to try, like I say most every single time, is try and brake as heavy as you can in a straight line before you start to try and turn, and this is definitely one of those. So you can see this one's probably the trickiest turn on the track. You lose or gain a lot of time depending on what you do. So I'm just going to kind of explain what I try and do. I try and keep the wheel as straight up and down as possible. You can see here in the cockpit, I never really do any dedicated turning before the apex until about right here when I'm off all the pedals. So as long as I'm on the brake pedal in this turn, you don't want to be doing heavy steering, because then you do get that snap oversteer on turn entry, or you can lock it up and kind of get a little bit of understeer. But if I use too much brake pedal, too much steering wheel while trying to slow down and trail brake, then I start to lose the rear end. So you see as I finally get down kind of towards the apex. Now I'm letting off the brake pedal and I'm going to start feeding the steering wheel. You can see my throttle application. I honestly really like the kind of step throttle through here. You go, 30 to 60% on it pretty quick, let it set, and then go 100. I find that helps keep the understeer and the on throttle understeer in check, especially on turn exit on these long turns. I think you'll see me do that for a lot of the turns here on this track. So now that I'm kind of here at the ending of the blue curve, I try and get back on throttle, because what I've seen some people do is they just kind of coast in between these two, but you can get way back to full throttle. I mean, it's almost, a second and a half worth of full throttle in between this point, down to third gear. I like to short shift into fourth. I don't know if I did it this lap. I didn't, but I like to short shift into fourth going around this turn. So this one, you're not going to have any brake pedal. There's no real marker, but you do have this crest right here. So see how the car goes up? See, notice my throttle. As I go over it, I'm full throttle off and then right back on. Because if you're full throttle while going over that, you get pushed way wide and you're going to hit this wall. I hit this wall a lot of times in practice, and I probably will in the race. But just throttle management, easy on the steering wheel, manage the wheel spin. You don't want the tire squealing too bad. Exit speed is a lot more important than entry speed here. So that's why it's important to sacrifice turn 1 speed in order to gain turn 2 speed. Because turn 1, you could end up way out there, and it would be probably 2/10 faster if you were out there going through turn 1. But I bet you'd lose 3, 4, 5 tenths coming through turn 2 and onto this long straightaway. So your goal for turn 1 is to prioritize the entry for turn 2 to try and be in the middle of the track or even further right than where I'm at right now. So again, just throttle management over that crest, quick to fourth gear. So now, braking point is just past the 400. Like, the tail of the car passes the 400. In the cockpit, to me, it looks like it's at the 400 mark exactly. Yeah. So again, heavy braking in a straight line. Um, as close to this wall as you can get, and then turn in point. When it kind of start turning in is this white line, and then really let off the brake pedal on throttle before this curb down to second gear. That's like the perfect amount of curb to jump. You can use all this exit rumble strip. And so again here, what I can't emphasize enough is to keep the steering wheel heavy. If your steering wheel heavy, the force feedback's heavy, that means that you have the car under control and the front end has grip. You have resistance in the front end. So if your steering wheel is really light on turn in, mid-exit, turn in, pretty much any time. If your steering wheel is light when you're trying to turn in, that means you're understeering. You're probably going 1, too fast, 2, too much brake pedal on turn in, and 3, too much throttle on turn exit. So what I've told a lot of people with these is make sure that your steering wheel is heavy. If your steering wheel isn't heavy, that means the front tires are not gripping and you're not gaining, you're not going forward traction, if that makes any sense. So up to third gear, leave it in third gear around this turn. This one, use as much curb as you can. Pretty heavy on the braking. Try to be on throttle at apex. Get on that curb, maximize the exit here. This is just the third gear turn here. That's another big wall strike area. So then braking into this one, basically braking zone is right where this wall you have that wall dips out. That's kind of where I brake. Down to second gear. I like to turn in a little bit earlier than what I think would be right, because I don't know, now that I'm looking at it, we do have like a little bit of asphalt transition. See, it's darker here and then it gets a little lighter here. So maybe you need a shallower entry angle to compensate for the loss of grip switching. I really have no idea. That's just kind of now that I'm looking at it from this, the asphalt does change. But I like to turn a little bit early. I find there's more grip. Not a super heavy. You peak to 80% for half a second, then just trail braking. Second gear. Oh, that's a big hit. Whoops. Huh. Maybe I'll look at this with a lap that I didn't smack the wall hard. So then, same thing here. It's kind of a blind turn, but your goal here is to get as close. You want to go not as slow as you can, but you want to go slow in. So that time, by the time you get to the curb here, to the apex, you're already able to be on throttle and accelerating exit. So you want to prioritize getting as close to this curb as possible. And be careful, there's a lip. Right here, there's a lip that if you get too close, it does upset your car. This is probably about as well as I could have done it. On throttle, pre-apex, all the way out here. Braking into this one, you want to try and be kind of in the middle of the track, so that way when you brake, you can be in a straight line. Just see that little trajectory change right here. Braking, 400 meter mark. Here I'm peaking out the brakes. It's not here or there. This is actually, I think, my best time through this one. So if you peak out the brake pedal, I don't think that's going to make a big difference at all for anything. So again, heavy braking in a straight line, then use a lot of this curb. Like, that's about perfect, I think. Down to second gear. On throttle. Here it's important. Again, you kind of want to be out here so that way you can straight line, you can get around this angle right here. Because you want a straight line from here through your braking zone. So the trajectory of like this wall is kind of where you want a straight line brake. Down to second gear. You want it close to this curb. This is not a good curb to hit. It bumps you out, so you don't want to be on that. It's a pretty decent braking zone. Trail brake down into it. You have a little grate right here, which I guess is a bump. Throttle on exit. This one is just throttle management. I like to be in third gear around it. Just kind of coast. This is another really big one to make sure the steering wheel stays heavy. If your steering wheel isn't heavy, that means you're understeering. If it's staying heavy the whole time, you're not hearing too much tire squeal, then you're probably, I would say, underdriving it. So this is just going to be throttle management. I pop about, you know, 30. I'd say that's midway. I'd say that's mid-track. Then down to second gear. By the time I'm around this second part of the horseshoe, I'm down to second gear. Here is where you grab some trail brake to keep the front end of the car in the track. So there is actually a really good example of how effective trail braking is in these. Just watch the trajectory change as my nose starts rotating more, my back end starts rotating this way. The whole car starts kind of rotating this the second that I scrub a little brake pedal. So right there, just that tiny little bit makes a really big difference. So that one's a 5% brake pedal. Like I guess it's more like 20, but whatever. You know what I mean. Then here, no real braking zone, just kind of down into first gear. Again, you want to late apex this one. You don't want to turn in, too early. You don't want apex here. You want to apex here. So that way, see, I'm already pretty well on the way for throttle. Just don't hit that curb, bad curb. Full throttle, manage your understeer on exits. Here's another kind of step throttle application. Is 50, 60, and then full throttle once I feel confident that I'm not going to be in the wall. This turn sucks. I hate I hate this turn. You can brake all the way down at like the 200 meter mark. I really like the 250, 225. I guess I'm really close to 200. But to me, this is too deep. I don't know. There's two different ways to do it, because the reason this turn doesn't matter too much if you drive it hard, you gain time in, you drive it easy, gain time out, is that between this turn and the next turn, there's enough lifting through the next turn where if you go hard in, slow out, then you don't really have to lift. But if you go slow and fast out, then you have to lift for the next one. So honestly, it's been within a couple hundredths either way if you want to brake at the 200, or if you want to keep her easy, brake at the 250 mark. Either is really within 2 or 3 hundredths. So this particular lap, I go a little bit deeper. I go down to third gear, right at the apex throttle. Again, you're going to see a slow throttle application again. All the way up to third, scrape the wall. That one I don't think was a 0x. And then here, it's a quick transition. You want to be as wide as you can. Breathe the throttle, so that way this is one where you do want to maximize your exit speed. There's a bump right here that really upsets it. And then here, I'm full throttle a little bit later than I want to be, so I think I went too fast in. Like by here, I want to be full throttle by here. I miss it by a little bit, but not too much. And then this next turn it's a non-turn. So keynotes, I'd say really easy on throttle application. Keep your steering wheel heavy, and keep her out of the walls. So I'll throw a cockpit view here of the lap, and that'll be that. So let's see if I kept it out of the wall this lap for the turn 5, 6, whatever. Oh yeah, there we go. So this is a lot better example of that. Really same mechanics. I think I slowed down a little bit more, kept more brake pedal in it, and I was a little bit later on the throttle. It looks like my exit trajectory is a little bit better. I guess I do use a little bit of curb here. I don't remember if I said or not, but curb here is the end of the world. And good on throttle, and pretty much it. Alright.